All right, howdy folks, Cameraman Wes here, and we are actually at the taxidermy shop, with Josh Lynn of Artistic Taxidermy, and I was fortunate enough to shoot a buck, so Josh is actually coming on board with the Outdoor Report, and he will be the official taxidermist for the Outdoor Report. So we're here today with Josh, and we're going to do a quick tutorial. If you're not aware of it, if you go across Minnesota borders and harvest a deer this year, if you're bringing it back across, you got to do a couple things, especially with the spread of CWD, and to help prevent the spread of CWD, there's some measures that the DNR has taken place, and we're going to run through that quick with Josh and have him explain, if you are across the border, what you need to do to bring that deer back across. So we'll flip it over to Josh.
All right. Wes has shot a nice buck here, so this is how he brought it in. And when you're out west, you know, you'll skin the deer down. Obviously we have plenty of hide here. Right here's his brisket, the armpits. This would be the leg right here. Now this is the back side of the leg. There's a white hair and the brown hair. If you make your cuts, you want to make that cut right along that hairline. Once you get past that white armpit hair, you just angle it to where you make your gut cut. If you can see that or understand that, that's where you need to make that cut. Some people will actually tube out the leg and pull it through and then cut it off. But anyway, we have plenty of hide here, so we're gonna get rid of some of this. I would always suggest keep a sharp knife. Usually when people cut themselves, they have a dull knife. Now on a short hair cape, I would make a short Y incision. But on a long haired cape, I cut all the way down the spine. Once I sew that up, you'll never know.
So now, people need to do this whether they shoot a buck or a doe, correct?
Yep. Well, if they shoot a doe out in the Dakotas or actually anywhere across the state line, they'll have to quarter the thing out completely, skin the thing. Excuse me. They'll have to. You can't bring any spinal fluid or spine or any brain across. So you're gonna have to get the head out and take the quarters off. But right now, we're going to talk about a trophy here. So if this deer was on the carcass yet, we would take our knife and we would go about 2-3 inches behind the antler here, and we would cut all the way down, straight line, all the way down the spine.
It scares me to watch you do that.
So if this deer was on its side, you would cut right down the center of the spine. Then we'll bring it up here. Now that's the easy part. This is the hard part where a lot of people will mess up, and a lot of people don't know how to do this. But with the laws changing, and if you're hunting in other states, you need to educate yourself. You need to get the tools. You need to learn how to do it right, so you're not getting yourself in trouble. I would pick up a scalpel. Or there is companies out there that make Outdoor Edge, I believe, makes one. There's several other ones that are made that'll actually fold open and you can get replacement blades. But it's always nice to keep a sharp blade. What we're doing here now is, some guys do it different than others, but we're making our cut. I like to do the mouth first. And you make that cut right along that jawline. You can see that right there. Because I need all that extra skin to tuck later. And now the trick is to do this without putting a hole in it while the video camera's playing. And the reason I do it from the mouth here first is that way when we're caping it this way, once you get it here, it just falls off. You don't have to worry about getting it perfect around the lip line. But you can see here where I'm making this cut is right along the gum line all the way down.
And again, anyone that shoots a buck that they want to get mounted, that's out of state, this is what they need to do.
Yep. Or they have to have a taxidermist out there do it and then bring it across. Now here's where we're getting into the nose and the cartilage. And you just keep your knife close to that bone. Now, most taxidermists...
I understand for some this might be graphic, so you might want to look away if you're not comfortable. If Facebook doesn't edit it out, but this is what needs to be done to...
Yeah, most people that are after that trophy, they understand. This is the how sausage is made, you know. But now we're that far. That's looking pretty good. Most taxidermists, they would rather see excess amount of cartilage in there than not enough and making big cuts and holes in it. So once we're that far, we're gonna find that where we started that incision right here, right behind, and we're gonna make a Y. We're gonna go to that antler and we're gonna go to that antler. And I've seen them come back less than perfect, and that's fine. This is an area that, you know, is behind the antlers. You're not going to see it. And with some grooming of the hair, you can really hide a lot of that. But that's what it should be looking like. So you can see how it comes in as a Y here.
Is there anything that I should have done different bringing it in that you saw?
No, actually, other than that hole you put in it.
Yeah, I did.
But that's all right. I'd rather see some guys actually give an effort. I've seen guys where they bring it in and I've actually had a deer that came in where it's the shoulders and everything was in the deer yet. It was kind of almost comical. But
brought you the whole masterpiece to work with?
Basically, yeah. But no, a little hole here and there is fixable. It's when these guys shoot it through the neck 4 times and they're the size of a softball. That's when we're running into issues. That's when you're going to need a new key. But now see how you can tell I'm just working around that burr, antler burr, all the way around. Little by little. And this is where you need that little blade. And there's other ways to do it. Some guys will actually go in there with a flat screwdriver and just kind of peel it around. But I found this way works well for me.
So now they're bringing across property line. They got to get the skin off. What else do they need to do with the head?
Well, I will show you that once we get that completely off.
Got it.
I'll show you where to make your cuts. You'll have to either bring a handsaw or I usually bring a Sawzall with. You don't want to get crazy with it and start running it into the back of your antlers either. Once you get here, you're going to notice this is where the ear goes through. So right here, your ear is holding on. So you're gonna need to make a cut. It's kind of hard to see sometimes here, but you're gonna have to make a cut, and there'll be a little. There's your ear.
So the hole right there is the ear canal coming in.
Yep, yep. Basically, when you're doing this, if you're out west, you want to just take your time and keep your knife as tight up against that bone as you can. Get this down a little bit more here. Try to find that hide there. There's a little bit of meat in here yet, but that's not a huge deal.
Are there any other special considerations that people need to keep in mind coming across other than this, particularly the rules that are out there?
Keep your stuff cool and dry. You know, I've seen it where guys will bring stuff back from out west, and it's sitting in, the stuff is sitting in cooler water. Well, that's right there, bacteria is going to grow in moisture. The best thing to do is, you know, if you can get it froze, but that's rarely is that possible when you're out west. Especially a lot of guys when they're antelope hunting. Sometimes it's 75, 85 degrees. So, and antelope are very, it seems like they slip very easy. But, now that we're talking about antelope, those actually you can bring across the border, I believe. They're not part of the deer. They can't contract or...
They're not known to spread that
Right.
particular gene.
Yep, that CWD. But yeah, keep cool, dry.
How much time you got on a deer when we don't have, well, for most folks this weekend they're not going to run into that problem. But when you are hunting early season, is there kind of a general time slot? Obviously I know the hotter the worse.
Yeah, you know, if it's hanging, I've had deer that were gut shot, that there was snow on the ground, and they didn't find it till the next day, and the cape was shot, and there was snow on the ground. So it all kind of varies, and I think gut shots are probably worse just because that rankness of the bad hit probably contributes to the bacteria. But I would say, you know, let's say you shoot one early season. I get a little nervous when guys are always constantly waiting till the next morning to look for their deer. But if it's in the 40s, you're probably okay. It's just the fact that if anything of that hide is going to slip, it's probably going to be the shoulder that was against the ground all night, because that body heat kind of gets trapped in there. The best thing to do is get that body heat out of there. If you find the deer, get it gutted, get it off the ground. That's a big part. But you probably have, you know, at 50 to 60 degrees, you got a couple days as long as it's off the ground. But people tend to get it in, get it cut up, get it butchered if it's that warm anyway. So, but I've also had I've had to tell guys that their capes weren't any good because they've left them in their garage for a week, and even at 40 degrees, a week is too long. 40 degrees is not cold enough. You want to get it froze. Okay, now we're getting close to the eye. This is I've had elk come back from the outfitters where this is where they screw it up. They don't take their time. They rush through it. here's your eye socket. What I'll do is I'll take my finger and I'll put it through and grab a hold of that hide, and you can see this is bone right here. This is the back part of the eye socket. I'll put my finger in there and kind of pull up on it all, and all of a sudden you'll start seeing the eye. Most guys, when they put holes in, they'll put it right here, right on that bone, because they're not pulling up on that hide. Also right here, it gets real tight against the front part of that eye socket. You got to really keep that knife tight. And it seems every deer is different, but some have deeper tear ducts, which is the area I'm getting to right now. Sometimes you'll put holes in them, sometimes you won't. Mule deer, seems like they have really large tear ducts, and that's fine. You put a little hole in that, that's fine, because all that's getting tucked when you mount it anyway, so you don't even see that. Let's do this side now. And what I would suggest for guys that know that they're going to be going out west hunting is, somebody shoots a younger buck this year, practice on it. Watch this video or watch a YouTube video, or watch a couple, because there's some bad ones out there too. But practice, even if you got this much of a head and neck, just practice on it. You'll know, you do 2-3 of them and you'll get good at it. All right. Now here we're at the eye socket again. Once again, this is where everybody puts that hole in. So I'm pulling with my finger here. And now we're getting to that tear duct again. This is where you want to keep that knife as deep as you can, because if I don't, I will put a hole in that. It's not the end of the world, it's just something you want to be aware of. So now we are nearly there. Now you'll see here, on this side here, we're getting to where the mouth is. If I do that on this side, it's going to fall off the face here soon.
It's interesting to see that, because even on mine, I never sat and watched the full process of how you get the cape off.
Yeah, and don't expect to do it this fast either. I've done 1 or 2. So now it is basically we're past where we got there, and now you just keep that knife close to the bone. And that's what it should look like. I mean, that's kind of a mess. It looks a little bloody and messy, but here's what it looks like from the outside. We got all of our inner lip here. That's what we need to tuck when we're doing the work. And then we also have the inner eyelid. We need all that when we set the eyes in the form. We have all the cartilage inside for the ears. It's all there. No holes in that. Now I'll show you what we do here when we cut the rack off. So now when you cut the rack off, you're making 2 cuts. you're going to cut right here between the antlers and the eyeball. Well, like that.
How far down should you go?
Well, you can see here, you know, we're about, what, 2 inches down?
Yep.
And then now we're going to make this cut. It's almost coming through at a 90-degree here. I usually cut through the meat here. And we're just going to cut that skull cap right off. This right here is the stuff that they don't want to be brought in. So once we pop this out, and this will be kind of nasty, it's just, or it could be interesting, depends on the person. That is the brain. They don't want that brought across. Now this will get, I'll clean this up, I'll just clean up some of this meat off here. But basically, you could bring this across the border now. I usually clean it up.
I've heard rumors of, does it need to be boiled, or what's up with anything you heard on that end of it?
I've never heard that. Some guys that want European mounts, I think that they actually have to be done prior. I'm not positive on that, but basically we don't. What I'll do is I clean this out, get all this material out of here, and then I'll throw salt in there.
Sure.
It'll dry down, so there's nothing in there that'll hurt it. So
that part of the head, that stays.
That would stay on the other side of the state line.
That you don't need to bring that back. You don't use any of that for taxidermy.
Nope. This is all you need for a shoulder mount.
So
This and your hide. You know, and actually I've done many deer that guys will mess up. They just have the rack and they're like, I left the cape out there, the hide out there. I wasn't gonna mess with it. I can get a cape. I know enough people. I buy enough hides throughout the year. I can get a cape for you that'll match your rack. It's not a huge deal, but it is something to keep in mind. So,
got it. Perfect. Anything else?
that should be it. I think we got her taken care of. Sorry, a little graphic, but I think we got the details down that we need to do.
There we go. All right, folks. Well, so there's a good tutorial of folks that are hunting out of state of what you might need to do when you're bringing your buck or animal back across. So thank you to Josh, and expect to hear more from us and Josh as well in the future. Good luck hunting.